Welcome back to Gibbo MMA, and we are previewing UFC Paris, Nasruddin Imavov versus Caio. And first thoughts on this card, it's a pretty, I'd give it like a 7 out of 10. We got a pretty good stacked main card. The only downside is it starts at 5 a.m. Australian time, the main card, so the prelims start at 2 a.m. So we're getting that European treatment for this card. And yeah, there's guys making debuts in the UFC from other promotions, which is pretty exciting. Some other European promotions. So there's a guy there, Lacine Kieta, probably butchered that. Double champ from Octagon MMA, making his way over versus Patricio Pitbull. So that's one to keep an eye on the main card. But this main event, a lot on the line, a lot to fight for, and that is to get the title shot against Khamzat Chimaev. But a win isn't going to do it for these guys. A win is not enough for Imavov or Caio because we've got RDR and Fluffy Hernandez fighting in October, who are also yelling, screaming, calling for that title shot as well. So it's a 4-horse race. Who's in the lead at the moment? It's these two guys. Even though Imavov is a #1 contender, the UFC love it when there's no clear-cut person getting the title. Although it should be Imavov, but because he's now booked a fight, if he loses, Kai is that guy, but also there's two other guys, Fluffy and RDR, calling for it. So the UFC loves these scenarios because it gives them better negotiation power. Because if Imavov wins and then say RDR wins, now they got two guys to go back and forth with, and which one's going to be the best deal for them. But yeah, this this main event middleweight matchup in Paris, it's going to be a great stand-up fight. And let's set the scene. So we're back in Paris. They first went there in 2022, and I believe that's when it only just became legal or something in France, just before maybe. And it's at a core arena, seats 20,000. It's where, so when they had the Olympics there, that's where they had the basketball. So you had like LeBron James and Steph Curry playing in that arena. And yeah, Paris, big population, 2 million in the city, just in the city alone. As far as like metro, it's like 10 million. And then the GDP, it's top 10 in the world as far as city GDP at 1 trillion. And yeah, like this will be the 4th event held in Paris this weekend. I went there, I was in Paris last year for the Renato Moicano Benoit Saint Denis event there in Paris. So yeah, I was over in Europe and went to that event. The French crowd is insane. Like I've been to not plenty, but I've been to some big events, stadium events in Australia. One being State of Origin at Suncorp Stadium, as well as we also call it a core stadium here as well, which is 80,000. And State of Origin is like one of the biggest games in sporting Australia. And obviously there's going to be more people at these events, and like the crowds are hectic at these rugby league games in Australia, as well as Aussie rules in the MCG, which seats almost 100,000 people. I went to a game there, and although this is 20,000 people in an arena, it holds noise better. Like the crowd is in Paris, like those guys, they're crazy. They're singing national anthems, they're chanting all sorts of stuff in French, and just a great atmosphere. Because the card I went to, the event, it wasn't too stacked. It wasn't like nothing too crazy. Imavov was the co-main against Brandon Allen, and that was more of a back and forth grappling clinch sort of a bout. And Renato Moicano just laid in ground and pound on Benoit Saint Denis, so that kind of was like, yeah, sucked the air out of the room because a French guy just got beat the hell up. But yeah, Paris. Like, I hope they continue to keep going there every year in September because it's super easy, like, to get to the arena. I was staying pretty, not far away, but probably like a 40-minute drive through that traffic. But you just get on the subway and it was like 25 minutes to get there. Like, the transport is great in the city to go anywhere, and having an arena right in the city is perfect. And these Q&A events they do, I went to the Q&A, called out Cyril Gahn for him to rematch Tai Tuivasa. I was the only one that spoke English at the Q&A, so yeah, I was like shitting bricks a bit getting up there. But like, yeah, like I'd love to be there. Like this, like this card is a lot better than the one I went to, and I'm pretty jealous because they're also having Cyril Gahn and Tom Aspinall press conference there. Like, oh, I'd love to be able to go to that. But as far as Paris, outside of MMA, I only went there for the UFC. Yeah, I think it's a bit overrated. I didn't even go to the Louvre. I got within maybe 200 meters of the Eiffel Tower, had a look at it. Yeah, it was all like closed off from the Olympics. They were still like recouping and regenerating, rejuvenating the grass. So a lot of there was just a lot of fencing and stuff. And but yeah, like they got the Louvre, the Mona Lisa, all that art stuff, but I didn't care about that art. The art I went to go see and look at was the mixed martial arts, and yeah, it was incredible. So yeah, and they had the Olympics there last year in Paris. Um, Aussies did really well there. We got the most gold medals in an Olympic campaign at Paris, and the biggest thing that came out of that was some just delusional chick called Raygun breakdancing. Some millennial professor who used loopholes to get through to the Olympics. I heard, and it's true, they literally set like the qualifier thing to go get in a time period where the actual good kids, like she's like 35 years old, versing kids, and the kids couldn't make it in time because they didn't have enough money or whatever to be able to plan a trip to go to the Olympic trials. So they like fully rigged it in their way so she could get there, and her husband was like director of one of the boards or something for the sport, and it was just like crazy stuff. Like, yeah, the Olympic brand really took a hit in Paris, just the opening ceremony. And yeah, so we are now known for the breakdancing ray gun. Got to be the, like, yeah, if that's in the Olympics, that sort of stuff, like it took a big hit. And yeah, I almost flew to New Zealand because it was the most un-Australian thing I've ever seen. And yeah, and when I think of Paris, yeah, you do think of that moment instead of all the gold medals we won. But yeah, Paris, home of the Paris Saint-Germain soccer team, French rugby as well, big over there. But yeah, my experience there was the only reason I'd go back is for the UFC, or if it's on the way through to another European country. I think you got to spend a bit more than 4 or 5 days. That's how long I was there for. I wasn't there for too long. But let's get into this main event. Enough on the Paris shit. With these two strikers in Imavov and Bahalio, I'm thinking it's going to probably be a bit of a stalemate for the first 3 rounds. A lot of figuring each other out. I don't think anyone's going to pull the trigger. It's 5 rounds, and it could be a detriment to either one of them if they don't pull the trigger. I feel like the one who wins is going to be the aggressor, willing to pull the trigger and take the risk, because if you're on the back foot and not giving the judges much and being too pitter-pattery, that's my term for striking that's just trying to win by points, is pitter-pattering, not trying to do too much damage. And which one of these guys is going to be doing that? It's like this fight is split down the middle. I see people are picking Imavov, people are picking Bahalio, and there's really no wrong answer. When I first saw this, I was leaning to Bahalio, but then I think I look into it more. Now I'm leaning towards Imavov, but also because it's Imavov's hometown, and this is what makes a great main event when it's so when you become indecisive on your decision. Like I'm not bullish on any guy, and I'm not going to sit here and go, yeah, Imavov full confidence. I'm not going to bullshit, and I'm just saying what I believe, and it's yeah very split down the middle. And I think you got to start looking at outside factors in this fight, and that is Kai Bahalio was a backup fighter for the RDR, for the DDP Chimaev fight, which is 3 weeks ago in Chicago. So he had to cut weight, he made weight, didn't fight, but he's over in Chicago, and then now he has to fly to Paris, new time zone, and cut weight again. Where Imavov, he's sitting back pretty in his hometown, on his own, in his circadian rhythm, is on point. He's not jet lagged. He's not having to adjust. Very comfortable. He's fought here before, and won. He's used to that big French crowd, and it's definitely those factors are on Imavov's side. Whereas Kai Bahalio, he hasn't fought in a year. Last time he fought was in August against Jared Cannonier. Let's bring it up. And to be honest, I was starting to forget how this guy fights. I had to go back and watch some fights, because I was like forgetting, because MMA and UFC, as you know, it's go go go, constantly moving on. There's rarely any reviews. I think doing review podcasts that I do and doing sort of award stuff is very important. Like you got to review and reflect on things, and it's very much just what's next, what's next, what's next. But look, you got to look back and learn. And when you look back on Kai Bahalio, August 24th was when he last fought, so over a year ago, a decision win over Jared Cannonier. He almost had him finished in that fight. Yeah, it was pretty brutal. You almost had him out of there. And wait, maybe I'm getting confused with Imavov. No, it was Kai, because Imavov finished Jared Cannonier in an early stoppage at UFC last year in June. Yeah, sorry, I'm just having a full throwback, because yeah, they both fought Jared Cannonier. Kai Bahalio pretty much knocked him down, almost had him out, and didn't get stopped, and Cannonier survived. Whereas when Imavov versus Cannonier, he dropped him. It was a standing TKO and a very controversial stoppage. But yeah, so Kai hasn't fought in a year, but he still stayed relevant because he's in that Fighting Nerds crew, and they're everywhere. They're going to all the big pay-per-view events. They're getting in front of the camera, during the broadcast. They're front and center. He's been trying to get a fight. It's not his fault he hasn't fought in a year. He's been calling out heaps of people and just hasn't been able to get booked. But hey, he's in a main event in Paris, one of the most electric crowds in sport. And yeah, so is he going to be a bit rusty? I think he'll be fine. He's trained with Hamza, which is very interesting. So if he wins this and then ends up getting the fight with Hamza, he's had a first-hand look at Hamza and can go in there pretty well prepared. But yeah, hasn't fought in a year, and a year's a long time in this sport, and fans, especially the casual fans, will start to forget about you. And myself was like, I'm seeing a lot of this guy, but not in the octagon. And whereas Imavov, he's coming off of that breakout that catapulted him to that number one contender win over Israel Adesanya at Saudi Arabia, where he got that knockout, shocked the world. And I went back and watched it, and watching other Imavov fights, bit of a dirty guy. Bit of a dirty guy. Bit of a dirty guy with those eye pokes, the fingers. When he was fighting Cannonier last year, instantly in the first round, he was getting warned. Hard warnings. Still poking eyes. And then against Adesanya, what looked to be he poked his eye, and Adesanya was like, I'm good, I'm good. Literally 5 seconds later, bang, dropped. And Adesanya was doing a lot of stance switching, and the eye that got poked was that left eye, and then he ended up in orthodox, so that eye is compromised, and that's where the shot came from, and then he ended up on his ass. Not making, I'm just saying, again, illegal strikes are rewarded in MMA. You got to start taking points just straight away. You're giving them warnings in the back, and then you're giving them more warnings in the cage, and it's just, yeah, just brutal stuff for the guy losing via getting compromised via illegal strikes. And I'm like this a little bit because Izzy's my boy and all that, but Imavov, hey, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. And if the refs aren't causing any reason for them to not do illegal strikes, they're not taking points and just warning. So Imavov, a known finger poker, big poke guy, and Borralho as well. He likes his fingers up. That's what I did note down. He also likes to extend his fingers, and I'm setting the line. Will they take a point? I'm setting point taken line at 1.5. Will there be over or under 1.5 points taken? Because I reckon someone's getting a point taken this far. I think they're going to be poking each other in the eyes, and where this will end up will be a decision, and whoever gets that point taken off will lose. So who's going to be more disciplined with their hands? Who's going to be not being lazy, and it's just habit, I guess. But yeah, I feel like, yeah, there's going to be, both guys' eyes are going to get poked in this fight. But yeah, I'll finish on Borralho and then go to Imavov more. But yeah, like, he's been called for fights, been out for a year, and it's not his fault really. But he's done super well to stay in the fans' eyes, in the know. Because yeah, everyone knows who Kai is. He's been front and center, but he hasn't been fighting. So well done to him for staying relevant with such a sport that moves on really quickly. And now he's in a main event spot. So he cut weight 3 weeks ago. Will it affect him in this fight? I think it will, also with the time difference and adjusting. I think, like, he's a professional and all, used to traveling, but just because Imavov the past month hasn't had a rigorous schedule of traveling, cutting weight, he's been able to just be dialed in. And that's why I'm favoring Imavov in this fight. Because Imavov, he's on a great win streak now. After that, no contest to Chris Curtis. He's on a 4-fight win streak, and he's fought the better opponents. Like, he's got now wins over Adesanya, Brandon Allen, Jared Cannonier, Roman Dolidze. Whereas Kai Borralho, the best guy he's beat is Jared Cannonier. And before that was Paul Craig, Abus Magomedov. He's also on a crazy fight win streak. Kai Borralho, his record, he's 7-0 in the UFC, 17-1 pro record. But Nasruddin, he's fought the better guys. He's 8-2 in the UFC. He had that weird loss against Sean Strickland where he just he lost via decision. Same as Phil Hawes. But you know, Imavov, what I've been hearing and saying is, you know, this guy is built like, you know, like steel. Like, there's a video of Dana where he just taps his shoulder, and he was just saying, like, dude, this guy is built different. And Imavov, you know, was born in Dagestan. I think he was born in Dagestan, but he's from Dagestan. But he doesn't have the Dagestan grappling. He's actually a striker. Yeah, so he's born in Dagestan, but he fights out of France, and so he's actually a striker. Kai actually has the better wrestling grappling. But Imavov did show against Brandon Allen he can turn it on. and his defense has gotten better. He'll have the speed advantage, Imavov, because he was in that Adesanya fight. I mean, Adesanya's one of the best strikers of all time. And he was slowly behind the pace a little bit. And it wasn't until that eye poked it switched. That's why I went hard in the paint on that, because I felt like he's like, I got to do something here. And every time he backed away, he had those hands extended. And that was the turn in the fight. But he will have the speed advantage. I think a decision win here won't be enough if Ardia and Fluffy go out and put on a great fight and someone puts on a stunning performance. So I think he's going to have to look for another TKO here. Can he get it done against Kai? Because looking at Kai's record, he's never been finished. He's only lost by decision once earlier in his career, in his second MMA fight. So yeah, initially I was thinking it's going to be a tedious points decision. It's going to be back and forth. Rounds are going to be up in the air with this chess match, and who's going to have the better fight IQ? Like, they both have great fight IQ, because you saw Imavov get buried on the ground in the first round against Brandon Allen and was like, hey, if it's only 3 rounds, if I want to win this, I got to win the next 2. That's what he did. So they both know how to win. And that's why it's such a chess match and such weighed up, split down the middle. And where the value is Imavov. So I'm picking Imavov. It's his home crowd, his home country. He's been and won here before. He hasn't had to cut weight. He hasn't had to adjust to a new time zone. So I'm going Imavov. Am I super confident? No. Because I'm not going to sit here and say I'm super confident when it's such a split 50-50 and hearing the other experts talk about this, and it's people are going with Kai, people are going with Imavov. So I'm on Imavov, even though I'm against his eye pokes and the way he's won of recent, a little bit dirty, but hey, who cares? Who cares about your feelings of biasy? And my biasy would actually be towards Kai for those reasons of the dirty eye pokes and that easy win. It didn't sit right with me, but hey, doesn't matter. Objectively looking at it, I think Imavov will edge this out. I want it to be a TKO, because he did TKO Izzy, but Izzy had been finished the past couple of fights. Kai's never been finished. He's a tough guy, so I think it's going to be that 48-47 points win for Imavov. Now, let's move to the co-main event. This is going to be an exciting fight. Mauricio Ruffy versus Benoit Saint Denis. Benoit just catapulted into the fans, been a fan favorite because he's an exciting fighter and just, real aggressive, but that is a detriment to himself, because we've seen it. He's coming off some brutal losses. He's back on a win from his last fight, but that Dustin Poirier fight wasn't fraud checked. It was just they pushed him too early. He's a great fighter, but Dustin Poirier, man, he just continuously is underrated, Dustin, and he was like a 3-1 underdog. Dustin, easy money, cashed in on that because Dustin finished him, because Benoit just not the most defensively minded guy, and that's the biggest question is, has he made those adjustments? Because Demetrius Johnson calls it the void, closing the gap with the striking, and he doesn't close the void safely. He just closes the gap, closes the void with his chin up, taking shots. So has he made those adjustments? Has his coaches and trainers made those adjustments in this training camp to be able to close the gap, the void, more safer? So when he does clinch up, he hasn't taken 3 brutal shots. And when you're versing a guy like Mauricio Ruffy, who is an absolute hitman on the feet, coming off his win against Bobby King with that spinning wheel kick knockout, it's in contention for knockout of the year. I think this is going to end up in a crazy knockout for Mauricio Rufy. And I like Saint Denis, former ex Special Forces guy, entertaining guy. He dies well, he wins well, but I think this stylistically is in favor of Rufy. It's a clear path to victory for Mauricio. He's got crazy striking. Joe Rogan said it best. The way he stands, he almost looks similar, but yeah, prime Conor McGregor karate stance against Jose Aldo, and that's what Rufy kind of emulates. Is that prime McGregor against Aldo with that broad shoulders, karate sort of stance, in and out, in and out. And I think we're going to see a vicious knockout here for Rufy. But where St. Denis can come in here is to engage in the grappling, clinch up, make it dirty, test Rufy's takedown defense, and make it an absolute war. Test that cardio, test that gas tank. But St. Denis, man, he's a bull. He rushes in, and Rufy, he's going to be, and with the counter strikes of Rufy, he's going to be that El Matador. He's going to be the Matador, Benoit the bull, and he's going to take him out. That's how I see this going. Can Rufy get a spinning elbow of his own? Can he whip out the Prates Murphy? 100% he's going to throw it. Just with the way Denis comes in, he does enter like Aaron Pico. He does kind of come in like this with his hands sort of down, and that spinning elbow is going to be right there. So I think he's going to take a page out of Lerone Murphy with the way Aaron Pico was coming in rushing. I think Benoit has that similar movement, and I believe Mauricio Rufy will do a spinning elbow, and we could see another spinning elbow knockout with the same as Murphy and Prates. And with Rufy, he's got a lot of hype behind him. Can he be a future champ in the lightweight division? He's very long. He's a tall, big lightweight. He's like 5'11". In the stack lightweight division, he's currently ranked 15. He's versing the rank 13 Benoit. And with a win here, he could catapult, and he'll definitely get a top 10 guy next, like Benil Dariush, Rafael Vazeev. That'd be a great fight. Dan Hooker. And can definitely be a future champ, Mauricio Rufy. And this is a good test and climb for him. So I got Rufy winning this. Let me know who you got winning the main and co-main event. Because yeah, they're exceptional matchups. Let me see if I got anything else for this co-main. Nah, just Rufy knockout. That's what everyone's sort of thinking. Denis can get the upset. He's going to make it dirty, but it's if he's made those adjustments with closing the void safely. And he's still fairly new to the MMA game, Saint Denis. So I just hope he's made the smart adjustments, but it is his hometown. Didn't work for him last fight against Renato Moicano because he got brutally bashed. That's the only way to put it. So I got Imavov. It was very hard to choose a fight of the night for this card, but I went Imavov. I was thinking co-main, but I went Imavov Caio. I think these guys know that they need to put on a statement, and it's going to be a back and forth war. I think a lot of damage is going to be done in that fight. Won't pick up till after the third round, and those last two rounds are going to be electric. So I got Imavov Caio fight of the night for the bonuses. Performance of the night, Mauricio Rufy. I think he's going to get another crazy knockout. And I've got making his debut for a performance of the night is Lacine Ketia, the Belgian double champ from Octagon MMA, facing Patricio Pitbull, who ironically was a double champ, 2-division champ at Bellator, and he makes his debut. This is one to look out on. This guy has some great finishes. He's versing an older Pitbull, and hats off to Pitbull, taking this fight. he's like, hey, he's coming off that win against Dan Ige only a few months ago, straight back in there in Paris, put his ego aside. He's now climbing, doing the UFC thing, being active, facing a newcomer, and this is a fight I'm looking forward to. And there's other fights, like we got Paul Craig, Modestas Bukauskas, light heavyweight. Paul Craig underdog. He's coming off that weird disqualification loss. So yeah, that's going to be a fun fight with Modestas Bukauskas. Modestas, can he knock Paul Craig out? Yeah. Will he take him down? As you know, Paul Craig, you don't really want to be on the ground with him. So that's going to be an interesting fight between those two big boppers. I'm going Paul Craig. I like Paul Craig. Mason Jones, Belijah Oki. That would be a fun back and forth scrap. I think Mason Jones got hard done by a bit with that Jeremy Stevens fight, having to fight him in his hometown in Iowa or something it was. Got the job done, but he's back now in the UFC, and I think he's going to put on a great performance, the Welshman. Some other fights. Umar Sy, man, this guy fumbled the bag in his last fight. Now he's been thrown on the prelims. He fought here last year in Paris as well, because he is from Paris. He's 11-1, but this guy had a layup fight to get a ranking against Alonzo Menefield and just didn't turn up. And he gets a fight with Brenson Ribeiro, which he can very much knock out. So he needs to make a statement, because there's the light heavyweight division right now is calling for new prospects and guys to climb the ranks. He fumbled his last fight. So this fight here, the UFC are like, come on, just win. So Umar Sy can very much be a light heavyweight champ. It's just if that guy wants to pull the trigger. And so these are the prelims. Brad Tavares, man, I think this guy has like the most middleweight fights now, most middleweight UFC wins. He fights Robert, Polish guy. Andreas Gustafsson, this guy's a fun guy, versus Renat, I can't even pronounce that Russian last name, on the welterweight. That'll be fun. I got Andreas winning that. And then Sean O'Bannon, Sam Hughes. I think Sam Hughes will get that one. Oh, Sean O'Bannon, I think she came off that comeback win. I think she got the submission. Hold up. Let me check. I might have to go Sean O'Bannon here. She was versing that Indian girl and got dropped, and then got that submission. I think it was like a off the back armbar. Yeah, against Pooja Tamar. She got dropped in the first round or something, come back and got the armbar and won. So let's go Sean O'Bannon. But yeah, UFC Paris, I'm probably just gonna leave it at that. I gotta get in the car, 8-hour road trip south, going down south for 2 weeks. So I'll get this up ASAP. But yeah, UFC Paris. Yeah, I'm just real keen on the main and co-main event on this fight, especially Aussie time, 5 a.m. start for the main card. There's 14 fights on this. Usually it's like 12 or 13, but yeah, with it starting at like 2 a.m. and the fight's just been, nothing too standoutish. I'm not going to break down those fights because yeah, very, very keen on the main and co-main event. That's what's big at stake here, but it's going to be a great watch. Let me know who you got winning in the main and co-main event. I got Rufi Imavov. Let me know who you think. And yeah, it's going to be a fun fight. I'll see you guys in the review. Let me know your thoughts on the card. I had to kind of keep it a little bit short, and because yeah, I got to get packing and going. But I'll see you in the review. Be sure to tune in for the instant reaction after the main event. But enjoy the weekend, guys, and I'll see you in the review. Catch you later.